All right, thank you guys. How many of you are from Viterbi or Games program? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I'm a Viterbi graduate, by the way. So. And how many are from Marshall? Okay. And what about this section?
From where?
What school are you guys from?
Actually, Viterbi.
Okay, so you guys just didn't raise hands. Okay. So I'm going to dive right into it. So I graduated from the Viterbi School, the games program in 2010. I've been in Game Kite Lab I was in here for 2 years, didn't go to my place because we were playing a lot of Dota. Sort of highly networked labs, and we could all just be playing. It was in Roller Tutor Hall, so that's where Game Kite Lab used to be. It would have been very convenient if it was here, because then it's really close to where I used to stay, and then I would have never gone back. Graduated from here, built a number of games. I don't know if my game poster is here. Probably took it down. Joined Zynga, specifically Zynga Poker, and worked there for 3 years as a software engineer. It's very exciting when you go to Zynga. This company, this guy, the size of Zynga, it has millions of players. I remember when I first pushed my code, it was in the first week or the second week, I brought the game down, and it was a very interesting experience. But then ever since that, I was super careful, and I thought they were going to fire me. But after that, I was really careful, and I did not bring the game down. So I learned from my first week or pushing my first code. So I did that for 3 years. Then I wanted to move into product management. Engineering was very important before I made a switch to product management on a game called Hit It Rich. Reason is that if you don't understand, for me, if you don't understand the core technology or how it's working, it's really hard to sometimes have a conversation with engineers when you're saying, well, we need to do this in the game, and the engineer will be like, this is going to take a week. Like, wait, I'll do it. I can do it in 2 days. So to have that conversation, I need to have that background. But more seriously, I think to have a conversation on really debating it out on why is it taking long, why should we build it in a way so that it takes less time in the future, so that we build it in a scalable way, was very important before I moved into product management. Are you recording me? Just because I moved from engineering, went into product management, which was a lot about game analytics, which I'm going to talk about. I was really interested in data. I moved into the analytics organization and machine learning because I wanted to do more of data. I wanted to be in control of the data and how the data that our games were collecting, I wanted to do more things with that. So I joined the central analytics team and the machine learning team for 2 years. I think that was the best decision. But then I got bored, so I moved to a new team. So right now I'm in a new team called the growth team. We are responsible for making games on new platforms. I don't know how many of you know iMessage on your iPhones released an apps platform. Now you can have apps in iMessage. So we released the first game on that platform when it launched in August 12th. It was called Words with Friends. So Words with Friends game is on iMessage. Cool. So if you guys go into your iMessage, you can download Words with Friends. So that's what we released. We were the first game on that platform, released it, and you can play the game inside a conversation. So 2 people while chatting can play a game inside messaging apps. So that's what we're doing right now on more platforms. Here are some of the major games that Zynga has. Zynga Poker is the first game. It was the first game on Facebook. It has MIE1. So it's still going. It's now on mobile. It was when I joined, it was on MySpace, Vivo, any social network you can think about. Probably I didn't even have an account in those platforms. Next is Words with Friends. How many of you have played Words with Friends? That's really popular, specifically in this country. Poker is more global. When there's a soccer game, you see the dip in players playing, and then they come back in the half time, and then they go down again. So pretty interesting. There's a lot of people in Europe that play poker. That's slots. That's the game that I joined. Hit It Rich. Slots is slots. People love it. So did that for 1 year. It's very interesting how they kind of create a roller coaster journey for the player in the game. So it was a very good learning experience. Then Farmville obviously is one of the most popular games that really invented this genre of social gaming on how you can really you can play with your friends and you're not just playing by yourself. You can get this entire graph, your friend graph with you and you're playing with them. And then the last one is not very popular, probably nobody knows about this game. It's called Mountain Good Mountain, but it's the most fun game. You should go download it, it's super fun. But we released that last year. So coming to game analytics, we record each action. Every action that is taken by a user in the game is tracked by every player. So if there are 200 or 300 million players over a period of a year, we track everything. We track everything that they're doing in the game and how they're doing it. And that's tens of billions of rows every day. By the way, when I was in the game pipe lab, there were lectures like this. Most of the time I did not understand what the person was saying. So I would highly encourage if I say something that you don't understand, please stop me, because I work in this and I'm really into this field, so I might just say something that might not make sense to everyone. So please stop me, raise your hands. And if you're not raising hands and asking questions, that means you're not understanding, I guarantee. Because you're going to get into a lot of details. So once we ingest all this data, why do we need to do this? Why do we need to do ingestion of all this data? It's not trivial. It's a lot of data. It has to be stored in a database. It has to be stored in a format that a data analyst or a product manager or anybody in the company can then go retrieve. So it's not trivial. That's what the data engineering field does. It's basically making a data pipeline which can ingest this huge amount of data. It's not storage of player profile. It's not storing what a player, where the player is in the game. It's actually storing all the events that they're doing in real time, and then actually seeing in real time what's happening. How many people are paying in the game? Is that less than what they were doing yesterday? So the short answer is to answer a question about the health of the game. Now, health of the game is really important. So back in 90s, the games used to be AAA titles. There used to be a huge budget. They used to make these games and then ship it, and they used to be available on CDs, and then you put it in your Xbox and PS4s, and that was done. Like, the game was done at that point. You couldn't change it. So the game development, whatever you had to do in the game was done when it shipped. That's not the case today. What happens is when games release today, the game is never complete. You can keep improving the game. The game development process has increased in scope, so it goes on forever. How many of you play Clash Royale? What's a common, what game does everyone play? Shout out a name so that I can take that as an example.
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone.
Pokemon Warriors.
League of
Pokemon
Legends. Pokemon Go. Okay, let's take Pokemon Go. I guess everybody does it. I reached level 23 by the way of Pokemon Go. Okay, I used to sit. What's the highest level in the room? Pokemon Go. 3? Who's higher than 3?
3?
Oh, say 3 level.
No, I'm just checking because I had.
So you dropped out. So great. So you dropped out. There's a reason why you dropped out.
Oh, I gotta sit down.
Okay, great. So I used to actually sit in a San Francisco bus and then go around that would hatch all the eggs. That bus used to move really slow, so it counted as walking. So it was really a great way to hatch the game. People do that, and you can tell that through the data, and that's why they dropped it. They now realize they put a speed limit to how fast a person can walk. So that they knew that because they could look at the data, or anecdotally they could hear people doing that. So I did that, and then I left the game. Like, I don't know how this game's going. So in general, there are a lot of questions that the data can answer, and we are going to touch briefly upon each one of them. One is, this is the most important questions. Why are players not coming back after a week to play? You dropped out, I dropped out. Why? What happened? Where did I drop off? What happened to this large set of players that stopped playing? The number of people that download a game. So D1 retention, we're going to get to this, but in a second. D1 retention means the percentage of people that installed yesterday and are coming today to play the game again. 50% of users don't come back the next day. 50%. This is a very generic figure I'm giving you. Yeah.
One question is for free-to-play game or for the customer price, I pay $2 for a game and then I stop playing after 1 day. Is that possible?
That's a great question. So my talk is mostly going to be free to play because that's what we focus on, and that's where most of the numbers that I'm going to say are going to be free to play. So it's free to download. There's no friction up front. People download it for free. They don't pay any money. You're absolutely right. If people pay money, their D1 retention would be higher because they've shown an intent. They've spent $2, even if they don't like it, they'll be like, we should just play this. So definitely the numbers will be very different. But mostly this is free. Thanks for asking the question. You get a point.
Very good, sir.
Another important question, why are players not spending money? It's free to play, but at the end of the day, it needs to make money. We need to pay the bill, we need to pay the server bill, we need to pay the cost of the development and continuing that development and the marketing costs. So why are people not playing? Those answers have to be extracted out of the data. Why are players not progressing through the game fast enough? You estimated that people are going to be, in a week, they're going to be at level 10. And you see most of your users are not at level 10, they're at level 5 or 6. So what is happening? Where are they taking more time? Obviously, you have estimations. Whenever you release a game, you have an estimation. You have a model where you say, we estimate users are going to be at level 5 in 3 days, level 7 in 6 days, level 10 in a week. So you compare that and see where are you off when you were making this game, why were you so off, and where is that happening? Another example why players are not using all their power-ups. If you build all those power-ups and there's great ideas, I use it all the time. Why are people not using all those power-ups? Because it might be that power-ups are where you're actually spending, people are actually spending money. So why are people not using all those power-ups is another example of a question. So in short, there's a business side. The game needs to, at the end of the day, make money. And the game designers have to make games. How does the business and game design come together to kind of help each other design a game? I'm sure when you guys play a game or you're making games right now, there are hundreds of ideas. The problem is not that you don't have enough good ideas. The problem is you have too many good ideas. You need to figure out which ones are the best ideas. And the only way to know that is by looking at the data to inform you. So if you go on and say, how can you make Pokemon go better? Right now I can tell you we will have more than 100 to 200 ideas. But it's only by looking at the data, by looking at more qualitative feedback, looking at the reviews, looking at all the other things that you can inform your decisions better. Because at the end of the day, it's costly. You're going to put your development team on it. It's going to cost you money. So you have to make sure the return on your investment needs to be high enough. And you can't just build anything that you think is a good idea. Questions? For 2 points.
Just one question.
All right. Okay. You mentioned about players are not paying money for this game. So commonly, how many players in the United States they have this kind of behavior to pay for the game?
I would say 5 to 10%. It depends on the genre of the game. You're going to get to that. So it's very less, but even from those 5 to 10, you can have an instance where only 2% are paying. And why does that happen? We get to that. It's a good question. 3 points.
One more.
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, you asked a very good question, specifically why people are not spending money. Yes, it's like, I think interesting than most of people here. So do you have kind of frameworks how to address it? I know it depends, but some kind of common solutions, maybe 1 or 2.
To make people pay?
Yes.
Well, I mean,
not exactly how to answer the question why they are not spending money. So, for example, problems. Problem number 1.
Sure.
They can't do.
Great question. So why are people not spending money? Well, people spend money to buy something in the game that they don't already have. Let's say we were making a game that was dependent on, let's say, poker. People buy chips to play. One of the reasons why people are not buying chips to play is because they already have a lot of chips. So you can go into the data and see what is the wallet size. Wallet size means what is the amount of coins people have in the game. If you see across the board, the minimum number of coins that people have are really high, that's means there's not enough demand. So it's like how economy works. There's not enough demand for coins, so that's why they're not spending money to get those coins. They're getting it from the game. So that's one example. Another example, let's say Candy Crush. I'm making this up because I really don't know what the data looks like, but let's say they had an estimation that people should be paying money by 20th level. They should be paying that money. But turns out that people are not paying money. It could be because the level 20th is, all the levels to level 20th are super easy. They thought it would be really difficult, where they would have lost all their lives, and they would have not got any lives from their friends, so they would spend money buying it. So that's another example on why you can see from the data why people are not spending money. So wallet size, it's called sync. Sync means things that take economy away, where you spend money and it takes the money goes down, and sources where the money gets generated. So there's sinks and sources. So you have to see that your sinks are not as good as your sources. So sources are generating more, more coins than you're sinking. So that's why people are not spending.
Yeah, same, great answer.
So in data and analytics, do people focus on geography?
Yeah.
So do the features in game vary according to geography, so that you can sort of work in different ways?
We definitely track the geo, and we definitely see different paying behaviors. I mean, some Asian countries don't monetize as well as the European countries. Definitely we see that. Your question is, do we design games? We definitely, so one part is localization. We definitely localize the game, and we see when the game is localized in a language. For example, if it's in French, you'll see the French geo will start doing better. So we definitely do localization of the game so that everybody who's not English speaking can understand it. Same in Brazil and different countries. Do we design games differently? Well, I think it naturally gets captured because when you design for people, another point, price point. Price points are different. So Google as a platform and Apple as a platform has started doing international pricing. So the same currency that's available for, let's say, $5 there's an equivalent conversion rate for what it's going to be available in India. So Google and these platforms have started with that. So we kind of jump on that. I think sadly all our games don't do it, but that's something that happens. There are different price points for the same item. I remember more examples of localized game design. So as I said, to make game design more informed, because otherwise they don't know what is the best idea. Some more examples. How much energy should the new feature grant? This is again a source. If let's say it's a Candy Crush game and something is generating energy, how much energy should it generate? What, like 2, 3, 5? Everybody can have opinions, but only data can answer that question of how much energy should be granted. Because if you're buying energy, and if you give out too much energy, people will stop spending money. So you don't want that to happen. So what is a good happy medium for that to happen is you need to answer that from data. Which players should be put together in the same clan? This is more advanced features. We are getting into matchmaking and even in Hearthstone, like which people should be, when you're searching for a match of who you should play with in Clash Royale or Hearthstone, or even any StarCraft or Blizzard games, kind of matchmaking them and understanding their skill level is really important. I'm going to go through this quickly. I've given a lot of examples, I think. How long does it take for an average player to complete a level? You thought we are designing a pretty difficult level. It should take somebody 3 times to complete this level on average. It turns out on average it's taking people 6 tries to complete this level, which means there's high likelihood they're getting bored, they're getting frustrated, and they'll drop out of the game. So one golden principle is that in games you cannot make the person feel that the game is too easy or the game is too hard. And too easy and too hard is it's a personal opinion. Everybody's too easy and too difficult is different. So keeping the player between his happy medium is really the secret sauce. And how do you design a game which can have which is not too easy, not too difficult for different skill levels that people have. Which power-ups would make the new feature successful? Now we're going to take an example. So let's say we had a game and we thought these are the score distributions. Let's say I had a Flappy Bird kind of game. And I thought most of the people, I think the game was super easy. Everybody that was playing it, because we have been playing it, we are making it, we play this game 100 times a day and we are bored of this game. And we're really good at this game because we play it every day. So we thought the game was super easy. But when we went out, we saw that a lot of the users are actually not scoring as high as we thought. We thought a lot of people would have been scoring more than 200 and 250. But if you see, a lot of people are failing in like hundreds and like below 100, below 50s and below 200. Yeah.
Do you have a test market to test before you release?
Yes, I'm going to cover that. So what you're seeing here is people are not doing as bad as you thought. So I should have explained my axis before I started. My y-axis is the number of players that are getting a score, and my x-axis is the score. So if you see people getting less than 50 is majority of players, which is expected, but it's skewing much lower. The score is skewing much lower. So when we saw this data, one second, we released a fix so that people start getting higher scores. So what we saw was when we changed the tuning of it to make it even easier. So so the orange line is the tuning after the fact, after we pushed out the tuning. So now you see more people starting to actually score higher, and then a lot of people. So even this did not fix it. What we expected was that this graph should have just shifted higher on this, but it turns out that a lot of more people started scoring lower, and it made the game even harder. So when you wanted to make the game easier, it made the game even harder. So it's the only way to get around opinions is data. Data tells you the truth of what is happening.
Okay, I'm assuming that you have unique user IDs and you could track the progress of a player.
Yeah.
So let's say this player X scores very low, lower than 100, and then you could actually see his second try, fifth try, 50th try, and how he improves that cycle. Does that help? Because I mean, when you say that you have access to all the data when I'm in the game, it depends on how you build the architecture and how you want to read and the gameplay. How do you manage that?
Great question. You're saying once you have all the data,
yeah.
How do you make a decision on how to look at the data? How to ask the right questions,
yeah.
right? How do we build the data? So we collect all the data. We have a player ID. We can check which number of try they got what score. So I guess your question is, how do we do that? Well, it depends case to case.
Yeah. Even before collecting data, how do you segment which data you will be collecting for that game, for example?
How do you decide which data you'll be collecting? Great point. So that's an entirely different exercise before the game is released. A product analyst and product manager goes into the game and says, these are all the data points that we need to track. Score, what is the try number, what is the player ID, which geo he's from, what device is he playing on, what operating system does he have, he is on iOS, more things, what time of the day does he play, how many friends did he have in the game when he was playing this. So how do we decide? It is as many things that we can come up with. We want to track that. So that's how we decide.
There's a really great video on, there are a series of conferences called Casual Connect, and the videos are online, and there is an app done called Bear versus Art. And the company that put it out got up and talked about how they did a soft launch in Canada and other places to get numbers. And then they were faced with lower numbers than they wanted. But I think it's very important to keep in mind that people don't always have a flip switch answer to how do you improve the game. What does that mean? What does that constitute? And it's a really great video to show how this company, and a formidable one as well, did not have these kind of pat answers, but that's where the art comes in. Wherein these numbers are the people calling for a slightly better tutorial. What does that mean? Brighter numbers, flashing lights. And so a lot of this is something that needs to be approached, as I keep saying, as an art form, to know what it means. There's no simple answer, and it's yet so crucial to know this stuff.
So to answer your question, Scott actually answered it. So there is a soft launch here. It's people launch in Canada or geos that they care less about, so you don't want to actually destroy your best geo. You don't want to release it in US and then figure out, oh, your game tuning is bad. You release it in geos that you monetize badly, where you can get a lot of data. So that's the soft launch period that we have, and most of the games go through that period. You put it out there to see how well your game is doing. You actually figure this out. How are people scoring as much as you like? Are they going through the content, or are they failing too much that they're not going to retain? But then the caveat there is that you can release in a bad geo. You have to keep in mind when you're reading data, you have to put a human intuition on top of it. That data could also be just bad because it's a bad geo. They generally don't monetize. So that how do you extrapolate that result to the entire population is also you have to keep in mind, and there's an art there. Yep.
Obviously, Zynga's a big company. I'm wondering what you see the limitations to this process for teams that are smaller, that are maybe in their pre-Zynga era of launching their first couple of games. They want data, but it's one thing for Zynga to be able to say, let's collect as much as we can. It's another thing for a startup that's launching their first game.
Sure, it's the cost. We have our in-house data analytics infrastructure. So for us, tracking data is cheap because we manage it. It's on the cloud. It's highly subsidized for us. So I think the challenge is cost. When it comes to a small startup launching it, you have to keep in mind how much do you want to spend. So which are the most important data points that you want to track. So instead of saying track everything, you have to be which are the top 50 events in the game you want to track. So those are the kind of considerations that come. Another thing is how much time do you spend looking at the data. You can spend your entire weeks and days and months looking at the data and keep getting insights. On a small team, you have to really understand, it's a trade-off. How much time do you spend on data? Do you hire people who just are highly specialized as a data analyst to look at data? Obviously, that's not your first hire. In a small startup or a small team, first thing is you need engineers to build it. Now, do you add another engineer or do you add another data analyst to actually optimize the work that engineers are doing? Do you hire another product manager who can look at the data that is we are collecting and deciding what needs to happen? So those are the kind of considerations that come.
Thank you.
And same thing happens in a small team at Zynga. If there are 5 people and that has happened, should they get another data analyst to start looking at the data to start making decisions, or should they just keep making the game? So it seems like a very favorite question. What data should a game developer track? Yeah.
I apologize if you went over this earlier, but would you take just a moment to give people a good reality check about the companies that make it versus the apps that don't? Since there's a preconceived idea of quality alone being the factor.
So there are 70,000 games that are released, and 1 out of 70,000 games make it. So the top 10, Pokemon Go is an exception. 2015, the top grossing games did not move much because they had the lead and they maintained it. The reason is they were ahead, they had the data, so your odds of being successful if you're not looking at your data are probably, there's no way you can be successful. Obviously there's an outlier that you can have, but tracking data, it's like, there was a saying that if you can't track it, you won't ship it. If you can't track what is happening in the game, you don't ship it because we need to be looking at the data. Sometimes we go to another extreme. We look at data too much, which happens. So it's always good to have a good balance on how much you should look at data and then get away from the data and now make a decision. But without data, I cannot imagine. At this point, it's a no-brainer that you need to have analytics in your game to make it successful. Does that answer your question? What data should a game developer track? So at a high level, we can break it down into 4 things. It's the behavior, it's the gameplay, it's the performance, and the economy. So behavior is behavior is basically their habit. Is when are they coming and playing this game? Are they playing on weekends? Are they playing on weekdays? Are they playing in the morning? Are they playing in the afternoons? Are they playing at night? So that comes into in behavior. How many times a week do they play? It's a very important consideration. Are they playing once a week? Are they playing 7 days a week? So that's the behavior. Gameplay is what we talked about. How much are they scoring? What power-ups are they using? All the stuff that core gameplay that you are doing, the player is actually doing in the game is gameplay. Economy is sinks and sources again. How many coins? All the sources that are in the game. In Pokemon Go, eggs and all the elixirs and all that. That's economy. That is totally separate than gameplay. Gameplay is how are they playing, and economy is how are they using economy to play the game. And performance. 9 out of 10 times you will see that the game doesn't load in time, and people don't even load the game the first time when they drop it because the performance is so bad. So load times on a bad connection. If you're testing your games in the GamePipe lab, that is probably the best internet connection you have. That's not how the world is. The world works on low-end devices, works on bad internet connections. How does your game load? Does it even load? Does it download all the assets and then it launches, or does it do dynamic loading, that it loads it, shows what the game is, and then on demand kind of load the assets. So testing it on low-end devices is really important. And then performance is not just the load of the game. Performance, that when a person reaches level 10, you've downloaded so much content that you're just draining the battery out. You're asking for the GPS location, you're asking for the camera location, you're asking the accelerometer. It's just draining the battery, and people are going to drop out of your game. The performance of your game is not optimized for the device people are playing on. So this is the most difficult and the most important thing that should be tracked is the performance of the game.
You can categorize your players, different types of players. There can be a person who's like very much interested in the game. He's like 24 hours on the game, and probably me who plays only 1 hour a day. So, the game, the changes that you do may not attract him. Probably he's into that. So do you really?
We do segmentation. We do a lot of segmentation. We do segment on behavior. How much does this? Did this affect the most engaged players? Did this affect the not so engaged players? Did this affect players who had crossed level 50? Did this affect people who were on low internet connections? Did this affect people who are from a different geo? So we do a lot of segmentation. But I think it comes down to data. That's why it's an art as much as it is a science. Because when you have so much data, asking the right question and how you can segment it, look at your data, is really important. So we definitely do that. Cool. So, aspect of game analytics, a little high level. We dive into gameplay and game analytics. But before that, at a high level, when you're communicating your results, when you're making a game, you're diving into the data. You're deciding what data you need to look at. But there's a level above that, which is just a high level business intelligence, which is at a high level, how does the game perform? Which can be answered by very few number of things. When let's say you have investors, or you have executives, or you have other people you're communicating in your company with, you're not going to say people who are from Europe, who are on Android device, are not scoring as high as possible. That's not that relevant at a high level. That's really relevant to you, but at a high level when you're communicating results, when you very quickly want to see if the game is doing well or not, what are the high level metrics that you want to look at? So that's what I'm going to cover now. So at a high level, it's DAU, sessions, retention. Why is this animation there? It's really annoying. So these are the high level metrics that any game should care about. DAU stands for daily active users. How many users are playing your game every day? Sessions is how many sessions are they playing and how long are the sessions for. Number of sessions and the session length is really important, because if the session length is really long, that means users are really liking your game. Retention. This is the most important metric. If you want to care about just one metric and ignore everything else, is retention. Retention will tell you how good your game is. D1, D7, D30, D60, they stand for days. What percentage of users are coming back on the first day after installing the game? D60 is how many users are coming back on the 60th day after installing the game. And this metric, there's a curve that it follows. D1 is 50 and then it drops and drops and drops and drops. So does it ever hit a point where it's a little stabilized and the drop-off is obviously going to happen, but is the drop-off sustainable enough to make your game healthy, which means that users are going to be playing your game even 6 months after they started playing. So this is the most important metric. If you look at nothing else, looking just at retention is really important. Questions? Pairs. As I said, once your game is good, your players are retaining, you want to see how many people are playing money.
About retention, considering a game like Monument Valley, which has an end, how would you be able to interpret things like retention? Because
is Monument Valley paid, right?
Yeah, it's paid.
How would you interpret retention?
Because probably if you like it, you'll end up finishing the game in a couple of days.
Well, that's what I said, right? This talk is more about free to play. In a game like where you pay money up front, these metrics start mattering less. I mean, they do matter obviously, but they matter less as they matter in free to play because you've invested. I mean, it's like back in AAA title, you bought this game for $60.
Yeah.
So everybody's a pair, so that's a good thing. Retention obviously matters. If you're seeing, even in Monument Valley, your retention isn't good. You need to improve your game so that the other people who are going to pay for it retain longer, and they generate this word of mouth so that they get other people done with it. Questions?
Is there a slightly longer sustainability for a multiplayer game as you would have arguably twice as many people playing it?
Multiplayer versus single player?
Yes.
So, this is probably a talk in itself, but multiplayer games have a very interesting attribute about them. There is this social compulsion. When you have a friend playing, your retention is going to be higher. It has been proven number of times. If you have a social game, which is mostly a video game, if you have friends playing, you're more likely to play. Pokemon Go was mostly being played because everybody was playing. It was not that I found this and somebody said, oh my god, this game is so much fun. It was fun because everybody was playing it. And there's this social aspect. We are, at the end of the day, social animals, all of us. We love to do things what others are doing and kind of do it together, which is, so any multiplayer game, I think multiplayer has, there's an aspect of a player behavior which doesn't get stimulated enough by the machine. So you can develop any AI, but there's this dynamism that comes with someone else playing it that makes the game so unique that a machine probably sometimes cannot generate it. So having that part, having a multiplayer aspect to game can totally change what your game is. Obviously, it's not trivial. Adding multiplayer component, designing that is totally different. But definitely, we have seen it a number of times. When you have friends playing the same game, your retention is going to be much higher. You're more likely to pay. I've had friends who paid money in League of Legends because they were buying it and everybody benefits from that, and because they were playing in a group. So it was more like, I'm buying this for the table. So that aspects all transfer into the game. So you definitely see those experiences. And all these social networks rely on having friends active in multiplayer. So the human behavior is still the same. It's going to be more friends playing, better, you are more likely to be playing game. Questions?
Small. What is the difference between a payer and a buyer?
It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. So new pair conversion. How many on a regular basis? So you can say now you want pairs, and somebody asked a question: how many pairs is good pairs? Now, how do you get to that volume of pairs? There are a number of metrics that you break it down into. One is new buyer conversion. How many users are paying money for the first time from all the players playing? That's what's called new buyer conversion. And you have to watch it very closely. If your new buyer conversion is dropping, that means that you're not giving a good value for the money for people who are buying it for the first time. Repeat buyer conversion is, I've already bought once in the game. Are those people buying again? So keeping a close eye on that conversion is very important, because if you're not, if they're not buying again, that means you are making less money, but this also means that they don't have enough demand for what they're buying. So there are two ways to look at this, and there are other ways too, but these are at very high level, two high level things.
Will this category be combined with the player drop rate, I guess, stop playing the game, so I don't pay for it anymore? And some people still play the game, but they don't pay for it after the repeating paying. So do you think these two metrics can work together to tell a different story? Or
The drop off and paying.
yeah, because sometimes for a game like me, guys, they don't think the game is interesting anymore, so they stop playing it. So I'm definitely not paying for that time. Or if I'm really interested in the game, but I feel like my first pair, like some new gamer bundle is good enough for me, I don't want to pay anymore. It's another story, right? So it can be totally different to gamers' behavior. So
Yeah, so we definitely see that. Also, we see there's something we've seen from our data is if a person doesn't pay in the first X number of days, he's never going to pay. We see that too, and we kind of design our games towards that, and kind of design our sources so that it doesn't have. If somebody wants to keep playing, they should be monetizing at this point. So there is definitely a relation there, but you can't directly relate it together. Churn. Actually, let me explain art out. It's average revenue per daily active user. So from total money, about total number of users playing every day. ARPU, sometimes I forget these full forms, it's been so long. And then average revenue per paying user. So from all the players in the game, how much are they paying? And then DAU is from all the players, paying or non-paying, what is their, how much are they paying? So it's generally a good number for a game is if your game is making 10 cents per DAU, it's a pretty good number for a freemium game. It's 10 cents is middle of the line. Some games pay up to like 50 cents. Some games even pay $2 to $3 per DAU. But then scaling that to a very large DAU is difficult. Their denominator, the DAU, is much lower. ARPU is paying customer. What is an average paying customer paying you? Is generally depends. That's a range. It really depends on the game. The next is churn. Percentage of users that are stop playing. Obviously, there's a retention, which is looking at a player when he installs the game. But then there's a churn rate for people who are much beyond their first week. So that's churn rate is what percentage of users are leaving. Again, number of friends, having active number of friends has a direct correlation with, and I would say causation to the churn rate. Because you are more likely to stay in a game if you have a lot of friends playing. And this has been, we have found correlations obviously, and this is definitely, we have found the cause of this also. But this is what gets people playing. So having an active social graph in the game is really important. How many of you play games because your friends are playing it? Great. Points. So again, we talked about so many stats, so many numbers. So how do you, just to bring it all together, this is how it all looks up to somebody starts to pay money. The first step is you need to acquire users. You can make a game, but the hardest thing today is nobody knows about your game. So you have to first acquire those users. So acquisition gets installs. Installs are users who download your game and have expressed interest and they download it. You acquire those customers. Once you acquire them, then comes DAU and MAU. They're coming back every day to play the game. Once you get them, once you acquire them, they're playing the game. Then is another is once they're playing each day, they're engaging in the game. They're playing enough number of sessions that they're engaged and they're playing the game. Then is retention. They're engaging and not going out of the game. And then eventually you come to the revenue. So you have to keep a track on everything. From acquisition to number of users playing, you should be tracking everything. That's, yeah.
I just wanted you to finish your sentence, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I know this is more on the marketing side, but do you have any metrics in the game that can inform the cost of acquisition? For example, if they click through on a Facebook ad or something else, do you track that as well?
Yeah, we track everything from different creatives, different copies, different markets, cost of acquisition to action, CPC, the cost of conversion. So we do track, obviously, in our, so just to give everybody more context on the question, how do we track users from their acquisition, which could be a Facebook ad, to an ad on another mobile network, to an ad on a Google Ads, to what their CPI cost is going to be, and what are these users doing that you're acquiring from different places, what are they doing into the game. We look at all that first. That's a complete different set of marketing analytics that goes in. We acquire customers from CPI, which is cost per install. We pay for that and we see which ones are installing the game and then retaining well. So we have a cost that we attach to this is how much we should pay for these kind of users because they're going to retain better. And then there's a CPC, which is a cost per conversion. You can actually tell all these ad networks that this person has converted, really bought in the game. So they can build a network around it, audience network around it, and grab users that are similar to users who are converting into the game. And definitely we track everything from different creatives coming into the game.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
How do you, with the in-game metrics, how do those in-game metric or the analytics there inform the segmentation? Like, what aspects do you look for to build that profile of that user that you have converted? And
obviously one is the demographic data. Like certain type of games are played by certain demographics, which is this. For example, male 25 to 35 are the demographic that's really attracted to this genre of game. We definitely build that, and when we're buying users or acquiring users or marketing to them, we only show advertisements to those because we know that is the profile of users that are going to be more attractive to you.
Sure.
And we pay more for that because we know they're highly likely to retain better.
Thank you.
It's actually an hour talk if you get into that.
Sure. I can see the rabbit trail, and I don't want to go down there, but thank you. That was
and
very
that
good.
team itself is probably a 50% team. So that is acquiring users, figuring out what they're doing in the game across our meetings. So users are not just going to know about your game. You have to market it unless it's Pokemon Go. You have to acquire users. Now, how much do you spend to buy a user? You need to bid on a cost. You go on different ad networks and you bid that I'm going to pay $2, $3, $5 for this user. You should not be paying more than the lifetime value of the player. Lifetime value means that if you acquire them for $5, they should at least be giving you at least or more than $5 back to you. So very quickly, we have data science models that are able to, from users' initial playing activity, gameplay, we are able to know that this person, based on different, as I said, data science models, able to calculate their LTV. So we can say, okay, this channel of users we should definitely invest on because these people are giving the return on the ad for the cost we are spending to acquire these users. Yep.
What tools do you use for the analysis?
What tools do we use? We have our internal, everything is in-house, all our infrastructure is in-house, it's on the AWS cloud. We have built our analytics on top of it. We use databases, I don't know how much I can go into, but I can share, but we have SQL database, which allows us to pull data, then we have a data in raw format, which allows us to just put data in Hadoop or Python in programmatic way. So that's the infrastructure. We built it all in-house on AWS. Again, it's an in-house solution. Not sure how much I can share. We have our own cloud solution. Not own cloud solution. We use a third-party cloud solution we build on top of our data. Questions? Questions? funnel visualization. So this is just a methodology and it's just a visualization to kind of answer a few questions. So one of the most important things, as I said, was you are going to be playing your game the most. And you'll be surprised how so many people will not complete the level 1 of your game. If you have level-based game, how many people are going to complete level 1? Now to see where are users dropping off, funnel analysis or funnel visualization is a great way to do it. So if it says level up 2, let's just say level up 2, you thought everybody should be getting to level up 2, but when you look at your data, you see there are users falling on each step. And these are the two different changes. This is the version 1 and version 2. So visualizing at each step that they enter the game, they load the games, they enter the game, they do the first action. You'll see a drop off from even loading the game and doing the first action. People won't understand it because you're not sitting next to them and telling them what to do. You'll have a drop off on each of the steps. So, and funnel is a great way to see where users are dropping off. So you already have 40% users dropping off from completing the level that you thought everybody's going to complete. So it's called an install funnel, which is the most important. How many users are actually completing the core game actions, the fun moment? You need to get them to the fun moment as soon as possible. How many users are getting to that fun moment so that they stick in the game? So funnel analysis is very important. And install funnels specifically from they installed the game, they loaded the game. Why I'm saying they installed the game and loaded the game is because, as I said, you'll see a lot of people install the game and don't ever load the game. Because either it took them too long and they gave up on the game, their internet connection was too bad, so maybe you have a performance issue. They loaded the game but they never did the first action because you didn't have anything to explain. There's something called FITUI, it's called first time user experience. First time user experience is designed to tell, like it's like sometimes there's a finger that shows you do this step, and good games, Tiny Wings or Cut the Rope, play these games. These games have beautiful first time user experience. They exactly tell you what to do. The reason is so that there's no drop off in the install funnel. You're spending money to capture these users, explain it to the user. You are playing your game, you're not an average user. An average user is going to give you 10 seconds and he's going to make a decision whether he's going to play it because he didn't spend any money. He just clicked on it, he has the game. He's going to spend 10 seconds to figure out if he likes it or not and he's like, nah, next game. So install funnel, first time user experience is really important. And install funnel visualization is a great way to know where our users dropping off. So that's one way to tell you which step of the funnel you need to improve or make it even easier. Level 1, you can make it super easy so that more users complete level 1 and they get this dopamine boost that yes, they achieved something. Yep.
It's a great point. There's an analogy in the in cinema screenwriting. They say if you're not engaged by page 10, your screenplay will not be read. They get to page 10 and throw it away. If they're not, they don't want to turn the page to them like what happened. And there's a similar thing with the early release of coins, reward, congratulations, cheering sounds, just in the first couple of seconds of any good game.
So those 10 pages have come down to 10 seconds.
Exactly.
Like there's so much data around there. There's so much social media, news, and apps and everything out there. You have to capture the user's imagination in the first 10 seconds. They need to like understand what's happening, or make it simpler. You can have a very detailed or a complicated game, but break it down into the most fun core loop that you want them to understand. Yes.
Yes. As you go through all the steps, you probably see a variety of problems that force users to start playing. And you cannot fix all of them. So yeah, what is your approach? Yeah, so there's how to select. So say, for example, this month I will do solve in this one. What is your factors?
This is a good question. So the question is, this number is never going to reach 100. You're going to never have every person who installs your game complete level 1. It's never going to happen. So how much do you improve? It might be that the data you're looking at is already really good. It's really optimized. There's nothing to fix. That's the best you can do. So how you answer that is experience, benchmark, releasing other games, competitive intelligence. You're looking at other games and kind of learning from them on what you think the percentage is. If this number is 20%, just throwing it out there, that seems really low, that only 20% of users are acquiring it. But it could also be that your game is perfect. it's the users that you're acquiring, to your point, are really shitty. They're just bad users. They don't like this game. You're capturing a demographic that doesn't like this game. You're capturing it from a geo that doesn't like this game. They don't like playing these games. So it is possible that the data is just bad because the users are not the right users who are to play. But to answer your question, it's benchmarking. That's why you always benchmark. That's why you always benchmark D1 retention. All the metrics needs to be benchmarked so that you can say good or bad. That's why before looking at the data, you can't look at the data and then say, oh, this is what's happening. You have to go in with an assumption that this is what should be happening, and then look at the data, and then say, okay, it's what we expected is not happening.
Okay, it's nice that you mentioned users and demographics, since I was just thinking about, do you do segmentation of funnel via different sources of demographics and traffic, so just to be unbiased?
Absolutely. Users that come from different sources are different. They retain differently, they complete different. Users that are brought by other users definitely will do better because they don't have to be convinced that the game is good by you. Their friend has convinced them that the game is good and you need to challenge with the 3 score. Definitely when you segment them, to your point, different where they're coming from, what kind of users they are, what is the demographic, it will have different results. I don't know why it was lighter, I don't know, but yes, probably. I just took it as a screenshot to kind of show an example. So I'm sure it was showing some kind of maybe male, female, or something else, or some kind of variation, or like unknown male, female, for people who don't know their gender is. It could be anything else. I just took a screenshot to talk about it.
Insights of one game used for another game, even though the games are very different.
We should not, but some things you can. I mean, sometimes you can do a benchmark. So that's what I'm saying. Again, when you have this much data, you have to step back and say, what is your human intuition on top of it? Are you going to say that one game is retaining 50%, the other has to retain 50%? Or are you going to say if the other game is retaining 50%, the other game at least should retain 30%? So we do compare, but then there has to be a human intuition on top of it on how to read that data. Because data alone is just numbers. That is just telling you something. You need to have kind of your own heuristics and your own understanding of data. So we do compare. Yeah.
Given that data is such a proprietary thing, how can you then compare yourself against another's benchmark?
Great question. So people who have been doing this for a long time have advantage because they have experience. They've seen it from their own data. I don't know how much I can share.
Keep talking.
There's competitive intelligence tools out there. There's App Annie and Sensor Tower. These are competitive intelligence you guys should. There's a free version of these tools. It's called Sensor Tower and App Annie, which tells you some very high-level statistics. A lot of users connect their data to these competitive intelligence tools, so that gives you that idea on how they're doing.
A two-part question, sorry. How much do you then build a game for things to be hooked in later, like seasonal items or updates, so that you can take an old dog and teach it new tricks on the App Store, like get the Christmas skin, things like that?
How much do we do it? A lot. We are entering a time of holidays. A lot of people are going to get new devices. They're going to gift each other devices. They're going to upgrade their phones. So definitely features 12 Days of Christmas is a great example of things people do to kind of like that's what marketing is, right? That's kind of tying marketing into your game and changing your assets so they all look Christmassy. People love that. Like there's more affinity. We do a lot of it. I don't know how to quantify how much we do it, but definitely we do it. We do 4th of July. 4th of July is another time we kind of have seasonality where we show or have a feature which has to do with 4th of July. Not for all games, because it might not be the best idea, but we do it. And that definitely has an impact.
Yeah, you notice things like even Disney World having great success doing that for Halloween, things like that.
Yeah, and again it comes down to it's a good idea, but is it the best idea? So business intelligence, as I said, tells you is only just half of what we do. it tells you what is happening in the game today. The real money is predicting what's going to happen, predicting what is going to happen in the future. How much is this person going to pay you in future so that you can actually spend more money than someone else to buy this user? Predicting how likely is this user going to leave your game. So predictive modeling and business intelligence are two different kind of phases of data analytics. One is telling you what is happening in the game today, ground truth, this is happening today. And then using that data and applying data science models, predictive models to predict what's going to happen. It's going to help you become predictable in your business and to acquire users and design games and design your different sources of your economy. Lifetime value is something that predict. It's great. Sure why it's so. These are a few things we predict. What is the likelihood that this person is going to leave the game? What is the likelihood that this person is going to pay? That's what I was saying when we acquire users. We very quickly have to predict these users that we are acquiring from this channel are going to pay. So whatever ad we were doing was great because it seems that these people are showing behavior similar to people who actually pay in the game. And this is classic, forgetting the name, somebody, tell me what's the, not logistic regression, it's a basic labeling of the model of these people are doing this, these people are not doing this, and you using that to predict which users are going to be paying in the game. It's pretty standard.
Classification.
Say it again?
Is it classification?
Classification, thank you. So it's standard classification telling you, but again, the data needs to be labeled very, very well. When you say churn, they actually churn. It's not if they come back, then you're labeling it really incorrectly, and then you need to be able to predict really quickly what they're going to do. If a person is going to churn, look at do they have friends? Have their friends stopped playing? Have they stopped progressing? Are they stuck at a level? Change it. Do something about it. So change your game design, things like that, and lifetime value. You have to predict how much is this person going to pay you over a period of 2 to 3 years, so that you know the actual cost. Yeah.
Do you also take into account the interactions? Like if I'm playing with my friends and I play frequently together with them, let's say I'm playing Zynga poker, I'm at the same table, I don't know if I can do that, but like assuming we could do that, do you take into account that those are the people that I spend the most time with within the game? So when I quit the game, it's highly likely that they will too.
Yes. Yeah, so another question is,
can you see this? I mean,
predicting somebody's churn is highly dependent on their other friends' churn. So if this friend is going to churn, he's going to make other friends churn. So this graph is going to churn together out of the game.
what I'm asking is, can you see this? Like
See this from the data?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We see this from the data. And this is probably the number one reason why people churn, depending on the data itself. Yeah.
How to calculate lifetime value? It's what kind of data categories you use?
How do we calculate?
Yeah. For different engagement.
So we look at their game. So four things that I showed you, the 4 kind of data we track: behavior, gameplay, economy. Based on those, how they're spending, we match them. We do basically for people who have actually paid money. We compare them with those users and see how similar are these users to these users. And based on that, we are able to generate how much money they're going to spend lifetime. We have a class just on lifetime value. It's a very interesting topic. And again, these predictions, no prediction is 100% accurate. Yeah. It has its true negatives and true positives and the fun stuff that data science team does. But again, you need to get to very good accuracy to be able to have a good return on your investment. So somebody asked me how many users pay money in the game. So this graph, I'm going to not make a mistake of not explaining the graphs, I'll explain the axes. So the x-axis is pair percentile. So we ranked all the users in our game. The person who pays the most amount of money is on this side. The person who does not pay any money is on this side. And then y-axis is the amount of total money that we get from these users. So this is all the money you get, and then this is 0%. So if everybody paid equal money, if we had 1,000 users in our game and 1,000 users paid $1, our graph would look like this. Everybody paid equal amount of money and ranked everybody, they all ranked the same and they paid equal amount of money. But in reality, the graph is skewed, which is very few percentage of users actually pay 50% of the revenue in the game. So 20%, if I can just make some approximations, 20% of the users actually end up paying 60% of the revenue of the game. So very few users are actually contributing all the revenue in your game. So this is kind of like the US economy, and most of the things follow this pattern.
Will this data impact the game design trying to attract more the big standards to get more money for the game?
Yes.
And how to balance game experience between the player who will never pay for a game and with the player who will never pay for a game for life?
That's not an easy question to answer.
Yeah.
One, obviously you want to design for a person who pays money.
Yeah.
Second, that's not always right, what I just said, because a person who does not pay money might bring another person who pays money. Or a person who does not pay money might eventually start paying money. So that answer depends on the game, depends on the time, depends on, it's not an easy answer.
So it's really hard to design game feature or mechanics that which can converse, to make more big standard, pay more money, and without hurting game experience from the free play game.
Yes, that's why games are hard. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's really hard to design a feature that attracts different kind of players. So that's why game design is about making those best decisions and hard decisions on what do you put out there that's gonna hot stuff. We know people who pay them better. But how do you kind of design it so that people who are not paying still keep having fun?
Yeah.
So that's why you have to keep, when you're designing it, you have to design it for people who pay a lot, who are super engaged, who are not engaged, who are new players. So each feature that you put in needs to have thought of all these things. All right, so we're gonna get. Wanted to get into this. We're running out of time. This is the player clustering. This is segmentation again. This is not simple. This is taking all the features that you can identify users by, and how much do they play, when do they play, how long is it taking them to reach the highest, their high score, how many people they're playing with. So this is their revenue potential, this is their virality potential, but they're not paying any money, but it is possible that you bring people into the game, which is free users into the game. This is their users into the game. So this is just an example of how clustering looks like. And the circles kind of talk about, I don't know if you can see the numbers, it's pointing to the lifetime value. So this yellow block is really paying you a lot of money, but it's really small. These are the users paying you $1.75 on average. And these are different metrics that they have. So clustering, taking all the features and then k-means clustering is simply strong. Or obviously our data science team gets into much deeper analytics, but they go into different clustering of users. And then you look at your analytics, you look at your entire design, your entire retention, entire high scores by these segments. So you look at how are the high scores being impacted for different segments of users. Just an example, each game is different, but this is another way to look at your data because when you have so many players, they're all different.
Just short one. Can you associate some kind of personality behind each of these circles, or is just like numbers?
No, there is a personality. It says early enthusiasts, social involvers, losing momentum, need guidance, borderline, semi-engaged.
Borderline incompetent. Is that what it says? Borderline incompetent?
Yes.
Very nice.
So based on the data that is actually identifying them, what is their main feature when you look at what is their in their cluster, which is their main feature? That's mostly where I belong. So we do a lot of experimentation. The only way to know answers whether it's correlation or a causation is by experiments. Now I'll give you an example. When we look at all the 3-year-old children, their reading ability from a scale of 0 to 10 is at 1. But when when they're when your shoe size is really small, your reading ability is 1. But when your shoe size increases to when your shoe size is full size, your reading ability is highest. So can you say that shoe size causes your reading ability to improve?
No.
They both follow the same pattern. So that's a correlation. That's not your shoe size is not causing your reading ability to go better. But they're both following the same pattern. So the co-founding factor for that is the age. Their age is increasing. That's why both of these things are getting correlated. So to find out what is actually a correlation and what is actually causing it, the only way to do that is experimentation, which means give people different experiences and choose different people randomly and see what the performance is. It's only then you can actually say this is what is causing this experience. Otherwise, you could just be looking at a correlation like the shoe size and reading ability and saying, well, we should just give them a bigger shoe size to children and their reading ability will improve. So to avoid statements like that in games, you have to, the only way to figure that out is doing experiments. That's what we do a lot of experimentation. Right, so this is the last slide. That's why we go, we have a hypothesis that we should change our design to this this new version. We have that hypothesis, we put it in testing, we measure it, we look at the results, and then we improve it further. So this is the continuous cycle that our games are going through. They're always improving, they're always kind of testing new things and seeing the metrics. Are the session times increasing? Is the revenue increasing? Is the retention increasing? So this is a continuous cycle that we go through.
So you're using like A/B testing?
Yes, this is classic A/B testing. You take all the users and randomly divide it into number of experiences you want to test. So you want to test the blue button, red button, green button, pink button. So those are different experiences. So and you can change any aspect of this. This is at any time you guys are exposed to at least, you're all in a different experiment on all the stuff that we do on any mobile game, any social media. So this is a norm. Everybody does a lot of A/B testing. You see different experiences. Everybody is not seeing the same experience. They're all part of it.
How do you then how do you understand my experience on it? Like if it's things that are as small as like red button, pink button, blue button,
Yeah.
how do you quantify my satisfaction out of it?
By looking at if your blue button is a bad example, but let's just say it was a significant change to game design.
Significant change, I can understand.
Yeah, we look at the data and make sure that it's statistically significant. The standard deviation, like the means are further away than there are 2 standard deviations away from it, so that there's 95% confidence. So we look at the data after, by doing all these statistical tests.
Just you said about all the deviation and things. Do you assume that your users are normally distributed or you have real life idea?
It's distributed like that graph that I showed you. I did a talk at GBC last time on if that's the data, how do you, what kind of tests you use? If they're not normally distributed, how do you apply test to test those things? So basically sometimes you have to cohort those users to find out if the results are good. Yeah.
So no matter how much data tells you, you still need your gut feeling to go ahead with the decision. So what is the percentage? Normal percentage?
That's very hard. It's a $1 million question. It's different for everyone. Yeah.
How careful do you have to be with laws regarding like tracking children's data?
Well, there's COPA compliance for children's data, so we
So,
don't do a lot of.
say for instance, one of your experiments shows that somebody says they're over 13, but the data seems to indicate they're under. You take them out after that?
I don't think we deal with a lot of children's data. We don't have that. Most of the data is COPA compliant, so they have to be with the parents or guardians. We don't actually have a lot of cases. Yeah.
What are the other ways through which a company can make money through a game other than just a store where people can buy stuff?
There's subscriptions. You can have like Spotify, you can have them just subscribe to things and they can keep getting free stuff.
Advertisements on the games.
You can have ads in your games.
So do you have any analytics for like these type of stuff also, like what kind of ads you should show for your game or anything?
Well, I don't think you will have a control over what kind of ads you will show because you will mostly be putting in an SDK into your game, which is going to be just randomly, not randomly, but based on the data you have in your players and demographic information. Mostly you, as a game developer, Right? Thank you guys.
Okay. Round of applause for Anshul. I appreciate that. Also for the Marshall students for schlepping here. Appreciate you guys finding it. I would like to invite people to stay and play.